Let us continue the second session for the therapeutics of the glaucoma. In the first session, we discussed the the prostaglandins analog, and now we will discussing the topical beta blockers, which are the first line agent in the management of open angle glaucoma. Non-selective beta adrenergic blockers are the timolol, leobunolol, and carteolol. These are olol derivatives. And if these are the non-selective, they will act on beta 1 plus beta 2 receptor. There is another selective beta 1 adrenergic blocker, which is betaxolol, and it will not act on the pulmonary muscles. As we discussed, the mechanism of action is decrease the aqueous humor formation and decrease the intraocular pressure without any change in the pupil size. The timolol ophthalmic gel forming solution is administered and available once daily. These beta blocker topical solutions are also available with the other agents like carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, prostaglandins analog, and adrenergic agonist. Means you will get in the one eye drop container, you will get two or three drugs for the additive effect. For the additive, you will get more effect. 1 plus 1 is equal to more. You will get more than 2. Beta blockers produce less improvement of visual function than expected, and topical beta blockers are contraindicated in patient with the bronchial asthma. If example timolol is also act on beta 2 receptor, so it will block the beta 2 receptor available in the bronchial smooth muscle, and it will triggers the COPD, maybe asthma, so it should be contraindicated. So in such patients of the bronchial asthma, COPD, use the betaxolol, which is only selective beta 1 blocker. Then what are the systemic adverse effect? Systemic absorption after topical administration can occur due to excess drug drain into the nose via the nasolacrimal duct. So this beta blocker can cause significant systemic adverse effect by this pathway because the first pass hepatic metabolism is bypassed. And as we know that for the first pass hepatic metabolism, the drug should be administered by the oral route. So what are the systemic adverse effect? Bronchospasm and status asthmaticus if you use the timolol, bradycardia, hypotension, and congestive heart failure for the both drug, because both drug act on beta 1, timolol and the betaxolol. There is also depression and the hyperlipidemia, and the which also mask the symptoms of the hypoglycemia. So that's why, to avoid the adverse effect of this beta blocker, as we discussed before, this nasolacrimal occlusion is the best way. Nasolacrimal occlusion uh, is the best to to avoid the systemic absorption and systemic side effect. Topical beta blockers are generally contraindicated in patients with asthma and COPD, as we discussed, sinus bradycardia, second or third degree heart block, cardiac failure, and patient treated with the verapamil. Verapamil is a calcium channel blocker from the non-dihydropyridine derivative, and which decrease the heart rate. The local side effects include the stinging of the eye, conjunctivitis, keratitis, and the dry eye. Then third category is the topical adrenergic agonist, apraclonidine and the brimonidine. Apraclonidine stimulates the alpha 2 receptor and decrease the aqueous humor formation. Apraclonidine stimulates the alpha 1 receptor, causes the mydriasis, and this mydriasis action is not suitable for to decrease the intraocular pressure. That's why the brimonidine is the best one to use as compared to apraclonidine. Is a more selective at alpha 2 agonist and did not have mydriatic action. So brimonidine decreased the aqueous humor formation plus meiosis, and we need meiosis because this mydriasis effect will trigger the increase in intraocular pressure. And this brimonidine, which is the topical adrenergic agonist, also increase the uvoscleral outflow of the aqueous. So this is the drug. This if the patient having the contraindicated for the beta blocker, you can use topical adrenergic agonist. If the contraindicated for the beta blocker, use alpha agonist. Then topical myotics, which are the direct acting agents which causes the meiosis, as we discussed in the previous session of the effect of drug on the eye. Pilocarpine, which is the cholinergic agonist, act on muscarinic 3 receptor in the eye, and plus carbachol, but difference is that carbachol is also act on the nicotinic receptor, and pilocarpine is act on muscarinic receptor, and carbachol nicotinic plus muscarinic. Indirect acting, which is irreversible cholinergic inhibitor, euthiopate, which is a long acting agents. And as we discussed, stimulation of the muscarinic 3 receptor in the constrictor pupillae muscles, constriction of the pupil, widening of the angle of the anterior chamber and the canals of the sclemi, increase the outflow aqueous humor. The local side effects include the meiosis, decrease the visual acuity, that is the myopia, decrease the night vision, severe frontal headache, and the brow ache and cataract with the euthiopate. Cataracts is the blood vision. So euthiopate is also responsible for the cataract because irreversible cholinesterase inhibitor. Next category is topical carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Acetazolamide, brinzolamide, and drozolamides. What is the main difference here? Acetazolamide is not available in the eye drop. Acetazolamide is available only oral forms, oral tablets, while brinzolamide and the drozolamide is available as eye drop. And generally the carbonic anhydrase enzymes available in the eye are carbonic anhydrase 1, 2, and 4. So this inhibits the carbonic anhydrase enzyme 2 in the ciliary epithelium, decrease the bicarbonate formation, decrease the bicarbonate secretion into the posterior chamber of the eye, decrease sodium transporter into the posterior chamber of the eye, and which may leads to decrease the aqueous outflow. What are the side effects of these carbonic anhydrase inhibitors? Ocular burning, stinging, discomfort, and allergic reactions, bitter taste, and superficial punctate keratitis. Brinzolamide causes less burning and stinging of the eye than dorzolamide. Why? Because the pH is more closely resemble of human tears. Home brinzolamide's pH is resemble to tears. That's why no burning. But when the dorzolamide is causes the burning. And both are the sulfonamide derivatives, and same adverse effect of the sulfonamide. If the patient is hypersensitive to sulfonamides, not to be prescribed dorzolamide and brinzolamide. There is a note for the use. What happens generally? The exposure of the dorzolamide to the outside environment, the bottle, if the eye drop after the open and use of the eye drop, and this eye drop bottle is exposed to the outer environment, the aggregation of the dry white granules on the tip of the bottle, the dorzolamide eye drop bottle, the white granules, and can drop into the patient's eye when instilling the medications. So these white granules you may instill into the patient's eye due to with the eye drops, and these white granules may cause local side effect, stinging and foreign body sensation, and that's why the patient is feel discomfort and induce non-adherence to the therapy. Non-adherence is a drawbacks for the dorzolamide. If the eye drop container tip having some small white granules, and with the drop eye drop it may get with the eye drop into the eye, and it causes discomfort, stinging sensation, which may leads to non-adherence. So patient will not use the drop again and not adhere to the time and therapy for the eye drops, and resulting in the poor response to drug. These granules may be rinsed off of the tip with the sterile water before further use. But the stinging and the foreign body sensation can be the effect from the medications regardless of the granule presence. And these carbonic anhydrase inhibitors should not be used in patient with the renal and hepatic impairments. And as we discussed, acetazolamide is available for the systemic use, oral and the intravenous. So this all therapy for the, as we discussed, primary open angle glaucoma. Let us see about the closed angle glaucoma. The drug therapy for the primary angle closer glaucoma, and which is the, we can say, more dangerous than the open angle glaucoma. As we discussed before the start of the lecture, what is the difference between the open angle glaucoma and the closer angle glaucoma? Let us see the management of the closer angle glaucoma. It is caused by the closure of angle of anterior chamber of the eye by the peripheral iris, decrease the aqueous humor outflow, and we seen the iris is squeezed between the cornea and the lens, and there is trabecular meshwork is not able to work, not able to drain. Treatment is usually surgical. So the closed angle glaucoma, the treatment is surgical, not medical. We can say not pharmacological medicines are useful, without surgery. So surgery is the best option for the closer angle glaucoma. And drug therapy is essential to prepare the eye for surgical treatment. We have to prepare the eye for surgical treatment. That's why we need drug. If in the closer angle glaucoma, if intraocular pressure is more than 60 millimeter of Hg, there is a ischemia of the iris, blockage of the iris, paralysis of the iris of the sphincter, and ineffective of the myotic drug. So if the myotic drugs are ineffective, if the intraocular pressure is more than 60, so don't give the myotic drug if the patient having intraocular pressure more than 60, because ineffectiveness. Why? Ischemia of the iris, paralysis of the iris sphincter. So what is our target? What is our aim for the closer angle glaucoma with high intraocular pressure? We require to reduce intraocular pressure. How can we reduce? The osmotic agents are used to rapidly decrease the IOP, and examples are include glycerin 1 to 2 gram per kg orally and mannitol 1 to 2 gram per kg intravenous. Mannitol is the best drug and the drug of choice for the patient of the closer angle glaucoma to decrease the intraocular pressure, mannitol. So if the patient having more than 60 millimeter of Hg IOP, give first mannitol to decrease the IOP. Pilocarpine is not used. Pilocarpine is a myotic drug. Pilocarpine is not used as initial therapy if intraocular pressure is more than 60 millimeter of Hg. Why? Just we discussed. Because intraocular pressure is more than 60, ischemia of iris, and the response to the myotic drug is ineffective. But you can use pilocarpine once the IO intraocular pressure is controlled. Then pilocarpine should be given every 6 hours until the iridectomy, or we can say surgical procedure, is performed. So what is the first target here? If the patient having the closer angle glaucoma and intraocular pressure more than 60 millimeter of Hg, first give mannitol. If the patient is contraindicated to mannitol, give glycerin 1 to 2 gram per kg orally. But the choice of drug is mannitol. And if the intraocular pressure is once controlled, then you can give pilocarpine, which is myotic drug, every 6 hours until the surgery is get performed. You can also use topical corticosteroid solution to reduce the ocular inflammation. Steroid for to reduce the inflammation. What is this osmotic diuretic, or we can say mannitol? IV loading dose of mannitol, 20% solution given intravenous in a dose of 1 to 2 milligram per kg, and we can say it is a first drug of choice if IOP is more than 60 millimeter of Hg. Oral glycerol can be used instead of mannitol, but what is the problem with the glycerol? It is converted to glucose, and if it is converted to glucose, avoid it in the diabetic patient. And if you give the glycerol, it is important that the patient not to be allowed to drink, because this will counteract the osmotic effect of the osmotic agents. Side effect: headache, nausea, vomiting, diuretic, dehydration, pulmonary edema, congestive failure, and mannitol is also responsible for the allergic reactions. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, acetazolamide, may be given IV as an alternative to mannitol when contraindicated to the mannitol. If the mannitol is contraindicated, glycerol is contraindicated, you can use acetazolamide. And analgesic, as there is a severe pain in the closed angle glaucoma, you need pethidine or morphine to control the severe pain, because the pain is not controlled by the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and steroids. And you can myotics use, example, pilocarpine, to reduce the size of pupil. How can you evaluate the therapeutic outcome? To evaluate the therapeutic outcome, there should be the regimen you are using should be well tolerated and patient adherence. Monitoring therapy of open angle glaucoma should be individualized. Intraocular pressure should be assessed every 4 to 6 weeks initially, and then every 3 to 4 months after IOP become acceptable. And there is one problem with the beta blocker and apraclonidine, which is a adrenergic agonist tachyphylaxis. Tachyphylaxis, not getting the response to the drug. So to avoid the tachyphylaxis, the drug should be used with the low concentration, and treatment can be temporarily discontinued to monitor the benefit. So this is about the management of the open angle glaucoma and the closed angle glaucoma. Let us see the three cases. Now these three cases are very easy and you can understood if you uh, get the lecture very clearly. Case 1, a 52-year-old African American women with brown eyes. Now see, as we say, the black race is also responsible, or a predisposing factor for the glaucoma. So African American woman with the brown eyes presented for the routine ophthalmologic examination. Visual acuity without correction was 20/40 right eye and 20/80 left eye. Now this visual acuity, normal acuity is considered as 20 by 20. 20 because the so person can able to see the clear object within 20 feet of range. That's why it is called 20 by 20. But here the normal visual correction was 20/40 for the right eye and 20/80 for the left eye. Tonometry measured IOP was 360 millimeter of Hg in both eyes. So here the remarkable point is, here we can say IOP, it is 360 millimeter of Hg, and African woman with the brown eyes is also main important for the glaucoma predisposing factors. Ophthalmoscopy reveal physiologic cupping. Yes, cupping. Now this cupping of the disc, optic disc in the both eye. Now what is cupping? Let us see. Just a minute, I will let you see the cupping. Cupping of optic disc, we will see what is the cupping. See, in this image, if you see the healthy eye optic nerve and optic nerve with eye with glaucoma, and this is called cupping of the increase the sides here in the figure of the optic nerve, and we can say the cupping of the optic nerve. So if the cupping of optic nerve means there is a chances of the glaucoma. Cupping of the optic disc in the both eyes, and the visual field examination revealed the nerve fiber bundles defect consistent with glaucoma. Pupils were normal in the both eyes. So if the pupils are normal, it means it is not closed angle glaucoma. Gainoscopy indicated that anterior chamber angles were open. Anterior chamber angles open means it is not closed angle glaucoma, it is open angle glaucoma. There were no signs of cataract formation. The patient has a positive family history of glaucoma. Family history of the glaucoma, and being not treated for any disease. Patient has a past history treated with the herpes simplex infection for her eyes. So it is also one of the factor. Let us see question. What finding on examination indicates that this patient has primary open angle glaucoma? What finding? The finding is here, intraocular pressure is more than 360 millimeter of Hg. What are the finding for this? Let us, I will make annotate. Yes, IOP 136 millimeter of Hg. Cupping of the optic disc, there is and the nerve fiber bundle defects, and anterior chambers are open. If anterior chambers are open angle glaucoma, and family history of the glaucoma. These are the factors and which indicates the patient has primary open angle glaucoma. Next question, what other factors may predispose this patient to increase IOP? The predisposing factors are here, herpes simplex infection, then we can say here African American women, black race, brown eyes. These are the plus family history of the glaucoma. These are the predisposing factors to increased intraocular pressure. What is the best initial therapeutic treatment in this patient and justify? Now the patient here, we have to use the first line agents, and from the first line agent we can use prostaglandins analog and beta blocker. But here it is not mentioned the patient not treated for any other disease. So there is not any remarkable disease of the lung or disease of the bronchi or disease of the cardiovascular system. So we can use beta blocker also, we can use prostaglandin analog are the first line agents. We can use prostaglandin analog and beta blocker first line agents. because the patient does not having any remarkable disease condition. How much would occlusion of the nasolacrimal ducts, punctual occlusion by this patient, influence systemic absorption or alter the therapeutic effect of the selected drug? Now, as we discussed before, the nasolacrimal occlusion should be for 5 minutes after instillation of the drug, and this nasolacrimal occlusion will decrease the systemic absorption of drug and systemic adverse effect. 2 weeks after the initiation of therapy, the patient returns to the clinic for the follow-up evaluation. Her IOP now is 32 and the baseline was 36, not significant reduced. In the right eye, 30 millimeter, she denies non-adherence and has no complaints of intolerable side effect. She said that she has taken the medication as per the schedule. How should therapy be altered? Are there alternative dosage form or can be drug that can be used? Now, if the patient is treated with the first line agents and are not getting significant benefit from the first line agents, and here we cannot change the dosage because the preferred dosage here is the eye drop. We have given the first eye drops or prostaglandin analog and beta blocker, but still not effect. We cannot change the dosage form, but we can change the drug. So you can give the second line agents, which is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So you can write here, use second line agent, that is topical carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, dorzolamide. Several weeks later, dorzolamide 2% solution, 1 drop, both eyes, 2 times is added to the patient's betaxolol therapy. So patient is before using beta blocker, and now we are added dorzolamide. 2 weeks later, the patient returned for a follow-up evaluation and complaints of bilateral stinging and foreign body sensation. Her IOP measures 30 and 29. Before is 32 and 30, now is 30 and 29. What are the possible causes of her side effects and poor response to therapy? As we discussed, this dorzolamide drop causes the stinging and foreign body sensation in the eye. So patient may be not able to adhere to the therapy, and that's why this is a possible cause, the patient non-adherence and the side effect to the poor response to the therapy. After further discussion with the patient, it is determined that she has not been adherent to her dorzolamide therapy because of intolerable side effect. The dorzolamide is discontinued and replaced with the travoprost. Travoprost, prostaglandin analog, 1 drop, both eyes, once a day at bedtime. Why might this drug selection be not appropriate for this patient? Because we already given the first line agent, prostaglandin analog, and again switching to the previous therapy, not appropriate. What patient education information should be